Hello and welcome to Health Matters on Channels Television. Thank you for joining us. I am Mary Alale Yusuf. These days, when we refer to COVID-19, we say post-COVID, but is the story completely over? Recently, a new variant has been causing a bit of a stir. It's called the XEC. XEC was first discovered in Germany in June this year, before spreading rapidly throughout other parts of Europe. In early December, XEC was responsible for approximately 45% of COVID-19 infections in the US, making it the most common variant there. Early in November, Botswana reported what is believed to be Africa's first case of XEC from a European traveler. It transferred the person to South Africa for treatment. It is expected to spread more during the festive season. By the first week of December, the Federal Ministry of Health in Nigeria informed us XEC had spread to 29 countries globally. How do we keep it out of Nigeria? Or is it already here? My guest is the Provost, College of Health Sciences, University of Abuja, Secretary General of the Association of Provosts of College of Medicine of Nigeria, APCOM, and the Chairman, International Advisory Board, American Academy of Otorhinolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery. Professor Titus Ibekwe joins us from our Abuja studio. You're welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Mary. And Merry Christmas.
Compliments of the season to you.
Prosperous New Year ahead.
What do we know about XEC?
Thank you very much. You have given a beautiful narrative already of the genesis, but let's try and shed more light on this to the level, since we have mixed audience, that our audience will be able to understand what we are discussing. Here it is XEC variant is a recombinant strain of COVID-19. And what does this mean? What it means is that it's formed by natural exchange of pieces of genetic materials from two previously existing strains. And these are the KS11 strain and MP33 strain. And they are traced back to the same family of the JN1 strain, which is a strain of concern globally and public health-wise, which also belongs to the variant of the notorious Omicron. If you recall, the Omicron virus that was very widespreading. And this current one has similar features because it is known that when you talk of how far it is spreading across the globe, which is the concern here, that it is really very fast. And however, nature has a way of balancing things. The severity so far is not as bad as the previous one that had been recorded. And this recombinant variant we're talking about, genealogy study has shown that an individual harbored these two strains of infection at the same time. And within the processes, they were able to exchange these materials and transmutate into this current XEC that we're talking about. And subsequently, it's got spread across beyond Germany, where it was initially isolated. But that does not necessarily mean that the very first case was actually in Germany. Because it's believed that because the Germans, they have very sophisticated diagnostic tracking system and also genomic sequencing, records and printouts, which is assessed from time to time. So they were able to pick this up early.
So let me ask you, Prof.
United States, UK, and others followed suit.
Is it in Nigeria now?
Yes, yes.
It's now in Nigeria.
Our NCDC, yes, our NCDC has confirmed that we have cases in Nigeria. However, they have issued also information out there in the public space that people should not panic, because it is true that it spreads very fast. However, the severity of the disease is not something to panic over. However, there is need to ensure that we curtail spread as much as possible, because those features, those clinical features that really get one sick, is still associated with this current strain we're talking about. High fever is there. We will have severe generalized body pain, headache that is recurring, coughing, vomiting, generalized tiredness that will make you to get yourself constrained indoors from doing your regular job.
But are people dying of it?
Nobody will want to have any of this.
Are people dying of it?
Mortality yet.
I asked if people are dying of it.
Yeah, I said there is no mortality yet here, which is the good news.
Okay, so people are alive so far.
Yes, so that's why we say that.
Yes. Are other countries like us? We behave as if COVID is totally in our history. Nothing about the way we behave would make anybody believe that there might be 1 or 2 cases of COVID-19 within this country. Is this what, in your experience, is happening in other countries?
Yeah, that as we usually say, it's when you search that you find. So it's only through testing that you'll be able to detect this. And that's why our surveillance system needs to be active always. I'm happy that NCDC has reactivated, the presidential technical working group, so to take the same bold steps that were taken during the pandemic and also during the period of Ebola. So when everybody is on his or her guard and we have enough information, we should not be shying away from discussing this, because information is power. We'll try to remind ourselves the things that need to be done, the non-pharmaceutical measures, preventive measures, very keen, and they cost nothing. Good interpersonal hygiene, ensure that your environment is clean and you stay away from congested places, and at the same time, individuals who are predisposed should know this early enough, because some individuals are more predisposed than others. People who are immunocompromised, the extreme of ages, the very elderly ones and the very young ones, because their immune status is not as well developed as those that are in between. Those that have chronic illnesses, those who have malignancies, individuals that are, on chemotherapy. All these ones have ways of bringing down the level of immunity, and one becomes even more susceptible to picking not just COVID-19, but any prevailing infections within your environment.
Let me ask you, Prof.
So your body will not be able to fight back well.
Why does it
measures
seem...
are very key.
Why does it seem as if COVID-19 is behaving differently from other pandemics? Those ones faded away, but COVID-19 seems to have staying power. Is there a reason for this?
Well, Mary, we're dealing with virus infection here, emerging and re-emerging infections, So they come like waves. They circle out. And there is also a particular season and, environmental predispositions and particular weather. Usually during this period when we have our own harmattan around here, in Europe and, other countries that will be talking of their winter. So this cold period and when you have very dusty, windy, environment, they tend to spread a lot of these viruses and its particles, because viruses, when they're outside the body, they assume lifeless, and they can stay like this over years, and they find their way back to human body, or the animal that they are primary or secondary host, they get reactivated there. So it is expected, waxing and waning, until we're able to subdue it. And over time, you still expect another wave of infection to. So far, human beings live in an environment like ours, in Earth, where human beings and animals and plants and microorganisms will all do coexist together. So it is expected that this will happen from time to time. But what is very key and very important is how we're able to respond to such situations. When we respond appropriately, it will end up as mild infections.
Okay, so that brings me to my next question. It was predicted that COVID-19 would become like the common cold. Are we at that stage now, or do we still have some time to wait? For example, when you were mentioning the symptoms of COVID-19, it may just be that you didn't mention it, but let me ask, is there the involvement of the respiratory system, the distress of the respiratory system that we saw when it first came out?
Yeah, it's part of the features. Remember that we talk of cough, we talk of tiredness, we talk of headache, we talk of some level of respiratory difficulties. It's part of it.
But those could happen with the common cold.
Yeah, if you look at the features of the microorganism that is responsible for common colds and the one that is responsible for COVID-19, the coronavirus, you see a lot of similarities, Mary. If they are placed side by side, except you're a scientist that you'll be able to, map out by looking at the proteinous, the details of the genetic sequencing for you to be able to pick out the differences. Otherwise, you see that there are similarities. So they are close to the same family. However, the severity of the illness depends on a lot of factors. Remember that the whole world has passed through this gamut from 2020 up to when we're able to stamp it down across the globe. So it could be said that a lot of people have already formed some level of immunity, herd immunity, against these organisms when you are exposed to it. And they say what does not kill someone makes the person stronger. So your system has recognized this and will be able to respond to it better rather than when it was completely new. And during the course of the illness also, a lot of people also received vaccine. Significant percentages of the entire globe, were vaccinated. Although we know better now that the vaccine is not the long protecting one that you talk of stuff like yellow fever vaccine and all those that can last for 10 years. No. This one, within 1 year or thereabouts, 6 months or 1 year, the effectiveness starts waning off. And that is why an alternative, a suggestion is booster, where it is necessary. Individuals may have to have some booster, shots, especially the very predisposed
Prof,
individuals.
Permit me to interrupt you there. We need to go on a break. When we come back, I want to look into those vaccines. Please stay with us. We're going on a short break. Welcome back. It's Health Matters on Channels Television, and we're talking about COVID-19, specifically XEC variant, with Professor Titus Ibekwe. You can call with your questions. Call 0808-054-2233. You can send a message on X at CTV_Mary A, or you can send email to moalale@channelstv.com. Now, Professor, the vaccines that we've had, do they work against this variant?
You preempted me. That was exactly what I was explaining earlier on. Yeah, it is effective, but it's not the type that protects for several years. No. Latest researches have shown that within a year, the level of protection start winding down. 6 months to 1 year, depending on the individual's level of immunity or immune status. So that calls for that creates room for booster doses, but that is not the first line of action, first line of treatment. The best measure still remains the non-pharmaceutical, which is preventive. Doing all those things that we have all railed out, things that we're used to doing in the past.
Let's just mention them again to remind Nigerians what we should be doing. I'm sure it won't be difficult to wear masks now because everywhere is dusty and dry, so that shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. But what are the other measures?
Fine. Interpersonal hygiene is very, very, very important. Like people coughing and sneezing, making sure that you cover up very well, and you wash your hands regularly, and avoid crowding, crowded places, a tendency of picking this up. Choose your travels as much as possible, and be on guard to report any case that mimics any of these symptoms that we have railed out earlier on, to designated authorities. And please don't shy away when you are called for testing, because it's for your own good, it's for the good of your beloved ones around you. You go for the testing when it is asked for. And do the appropriate things by making sure you stay away from undue exposure. If you can use mask, that is fine. But if you will not use masks, it is equally okay. But just be on guard, and equally being in touch with the most recent information, especially coming from NCDC, which is our own key surveillance team here in Nigeria, to be in tune and in touch with the latest developments on any of this, and making sure that we have their contacts, their hotlines, that we can call when necessary. All these measures will go in no mean way of helping, to stamp out this disease around us. And also listening to experts. Expert advice is very important. If you're asked to do this, please, you have to do that for your good and for the good of people around you.
People will say that this COVID-19 is just a spoiler of joy. It seems as if when every Christmas or end of year thing comes around, just when family wants to meet and people want to have parties, we hear of a new variant. But anyway, we've heard of updated vaccines. What are these updated vaccines? I'm aware that they're in America. What are they and why are they necessary?
Yeah, well, the needless calling the companies and what they produce, but it's still fresh in our minds, the effort the big farmers made during the period of the COVID-19, coming up with vaccines, and some of them, they have to, fast track the steps in making sure that these things all came out. And there were ones that were really endorsed by World Health Organizations, and certain classes that were accepted by different countries, because this varies from where it is produced, some in the United States, some in the United Kingdom, some even in Russia, but each country has to assess the quality of these vaccines and made their choices. But over time, these big pharmas, they didn't go to sleep, knowing full well that they had to roll out very fast. So they still went back to the laboratories to find ways of updating some of those vaccines. So those are the ones that are still in circulation and in use right now. But as I said, it should be strictly on prescription. If you don't just step up, you're not having anything, you say, give me the shot or give me the vaccine. But if you are one of those who are predisposed, as we have mentioned, immunocompromised individuals, people who have chronic diseases, the extreme of ages, people who have cancers, who are receiving cancer treatments, it is highly advisable to take that. Or if you don't belong to this category, there may not be need for you to step up and
so can children
let the vaccine.
So can children in Nigeria now take the vaccine? I know in other climes, children as young as 6 months.
Yes, absolutely correct. The newly updated ones adapted to even children, adults, and breastfeeding mothers, because initially certain information were not clear, and to err on the side of caution. Initially, it wasn't prescribed for children, but later on, research findings and clinical surveillance and assessment of how the drug has fared within the system and within the society, supported giving this to children. So it's not what you walk across the counter to buy and get injected on yourself. That's why I said that you must follow the expert advice. You will be assessed to make sure that you fall within the category of those who should receive. Or it's known that it's safe for children, it's safe for adolescents, it's safe for adults, and even the very seniors, the elderly, to receive this, and even breastfeeding mothers and those who have chronic illnesses, to protect them from contracting the active disease, But each country's Ministry of Health will assess and determine the various, the particular ones that they felt work best, that they're going to use for their countries. Even some evidence that is out there now is showing that a combination of different, vaccines, you have had a different brand earlier on, and you happen to take another one from another company that has been designated to be very active, that it seems to be offering some level of better protection rather than staying on the same one that you have taken. So you can see how far, studies are going on, and people are looking into this.
That indeed.
But let's re-emphasize that the first line measure is not vaccine. It's just all that we have railed at, you and I, the non-pharmaceutical measures.
Non-pharmaceutical measures, first line. Okay. Yeah. But I'm so impressed with the progress we've made. Now we know who we can give, who we can't give. We can give it to more people. And this new suggestion you made, that take it by prescription, don't just go take it. I think it makes the picture a lot better. Thank you so much, Prof, for coming on the show and giving us your views and your insights on this new variant and others. Thank you so much for coming, and have a nice day, sir.
Thank you very much, Mary. It's a pleasure.
And that's it on the program for today. There it is. You have more information about COVID-19. Science is moving along. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the season. I am Mary Alale Yusuf.